Thank you, Snikitha, for your time today. Really appreciate it. Would you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
No, of course. Glad to be here. I am originally from India. I was born and brought up there. And then I started my career as a software engineer. And then I did a full-time MBA program. And then I transitioned to being a product manager. So since then, I've been working on a bunch of different products. Started off with working on security related products, wasn't that interested in it. So then I moved to working for Expedia, where I was working on regulatory and tax related products, and on another team called the Conversations platform, where we were actually building chatbots that would help our like Expedia travelers like self-serve some of the questions. And then currently I'm working at Uber as a product manager on this team called Earner Access. So earners for Uber are basically like our drivers and couriers. So we as a team make sure that the right kind of drivers or couriers are actually able to work on the Uber platform, and the wrong kind of people are actually not able to access to the platform. So yeah, and that's kind of high level, but I'm happy to kind of dive into whichever one you want me to in particular.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever miss being a software engineer?
At times I do. When I feel like, so since I was a software engineer, I really like coding and I really like solving problems. And at times I feel like I am suggesting like what needs to be done to the engineer. And then I feel like, okay, wait, that's not my job anymore. So those things happen, but yeah, I definitely like being a product manager more.
Of course. Yeah. Tell me about your first reaction when you got your job from Uber.
I think I was definitely pretty excited about it for sure. It was also a very bittersweet feeling because I really liked working for Expedia. That's where I was working before. But then I also looked at it like a great opportunity for me because Uber is obviously known for its amazing products that it builds. And in general, product managers in Uber are pretty sought after. So I looked at it from like a career perspective. Hey, this is going to be like a great stepping stone for me. Also, the fact that product management in Expedia was completely different from what it is in Uber. I feel like in Uber, product managers focus a lot more on like product roadmaps and like key metrics and how it's basically impacting our earners, right? So I think that way for me, just felt like it was a great opportunity to kind of learn and be better at product management. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll take it up.
Yeah. Got it. What's the interview process look like with Uber?
In terms of the application process, yeah, I mean, there are different ways that you can actually get that first interview call, right? You can apply for yourself directly on the website, LinkedIn, wherever. Or it could also be that the HR just reached out to you on LinkedIn, or you could have got a referral from somebody who's working at Uber. Either way, I think once you submit your resume, first thing is that HR would basically take a look at it and see if you're a good fit. They would reach out to you and you would have the first introductory, like a 30-minute phone call with them. This is basically like a very casual conversation to check like, hey, if you are the right fit for the role, what you've been doing so far, why you want to move jobs, why you want to join Uber, things like that, like very basic stuff, like your salary expectations, if it's in line with what they're thinking about, all those things. If that goes well, and if the HR thinks that, hey, you're probably a good fit, they will schedule like a 45-minute interview with the hiring manager. The interview for that, like that's basically just considered your first round of interviews, right? It will basically be just testing your product skills. They would basically give you like a vague product case kind of a question, and then they'll see how you are actually responding to it. They'll see if you have like the right product vision, if you're able to set the right goals for the product, if you're able to like prioritize your product users, if you're able to prioritize like their problems, like how you're coming up with solutions, if you're able to like set the right North Star vision for your product and all of those things, right? That's basically your first round. At times, it could also be like just talking about like what you're doing so far. It could be like delving into product details about your product. So it really depends on the hiring manager. Once that goes well, then you will have something called like a jam session. This one is, I don't know if most companies do it. I think few companies out there do this, but not all of them, where a week in advance to your actual jam interview, they will give you a product case. And you are expected to basically brainstorm with like 2 or 3 other product managers from the team around like how, if you were the product manager of that particular product, how would you go about solving it? It's going to be super vague again, and the HR is there to help you out. So if you have like any basic questions, you can ask the HR. But the idea is during the interview, you are expected to lead the session. You will have to talk about all the things that I said in the first round, right? Like your product vision, your execution,
Yeah.
your prioritization skills, roadmap, like all those things the conversation can basically go anywhere. So you have to be
Yeah.
prepared for anything and everything. In terms of the format, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. You want to do a PowerPoint, you want to do a Word presentation, or you just want to use the black whiteboard, completely up to you. But this is probably the most crucial part of the Uber interview process. And what I've heard from HR is that most people actually get eliminated in this round.
I would assume
So
so.
it's very, very critical. And the jam sessions are also in such a way that it's basically something that happens at Uber very often, right? Even
Okay.
if you are working on a product, you are brainstorming with a bunch of folks about like what you should do, what you should prioritize, and all of that stuff. So it's very similar to if you're a product manager at Uber, how you would think through this. So it's a super conversation. And if you actually like talking about products and thinking through products, this session would be like it'll be a very intellectual kind of a
Okay.
discussion, but I think it can also stress out a lot of people. So it can go either ways. Now, once that jam session is done, you will have round with 4 to 5 stakeholders in your team. Generally would have like your engineering manager, your DS lead, your product ops person, and also another product manager from the team. So these interviews, again, like the product manager interview will again be like a product sense kind of an interview. Your DS interview would be more around like analytical skills, right? Like what would you prioritize? Like what kind of data would you need? What kind of questions would you ask to make the right decision? Things like that. Your product ops interview again would be around like stakeholder management, how you would collaborate with cross-functional teams to work on things. And your
Uh-huh.
engineering manager interviews are again like a behavioral, like a cross-functional
Gotcha.
interview. Should be fairly straightforward. Once you get through this round, I think by this round, if they like you, pretty sure that hey, you think you're a good fit, you will have another round, which I don't know if it's like a pretty common thing or not, but I had it, where you will be talking with one of the senior leaders at Uber, like a senior vice president for
Oh,
product in
wow.
my case. I think it's more like a senior person coming and just making sure that, hey, you're the right person for the team, right? I think it's mostly just like getting their stamp of approval. I think by then the team has already decided that, hey, you'll be a good fit. It's basically doing that last check. And that interview will be a very straightforward conversation around like what you've done so far, why you want to come join us, things like that. That's your final approval to get into Uber. Quite a few rounds, but a very interesting process. Good thing is that they move very quickly. I think after my final round, within a day, I got to know that I was getting the offer. So
Okay.
they move very quickly. Though other thing is generally there'll be a lot of people who will be interviewing for the same role, right? So if somebody else is already ahead in the process and they already got the offer, HR can basically try to see if they can fit you into other roles within Uber. Obviously, you probably still have to do some hiring manager interviews just to make sure that you're a right fit for that particular team. But that's good that HR is at least like not just dropping you off in
Yeah.
the process.
Okay. So tell me what you do as a product manager at Uber.
Yeah, so as a product manager at Uber, as I said, I'm working on the earner access team, right? So earners for us, like talking about drivers and couriers. So when they want to like sign up for Uber and like drive with Uber or ride or deliver with Uber, they actually have to provide us with like certain kinds of documents. Like think about your driver's license document, think about your vehicle insurance, vehicle inspection, vehicle registration documents. And these are documents that we collect to ensure that the right kind of person is actually able to earn with Uber. So we
Mhm.
do some fraud checks and all of that stuff. So our team basically builds the platform to ensure that we are able to process these documents in such a way that one, making sure, as I was saying, the right person gets through, and then also making sure that we're doing the right kind of fraud checks also to make sure that the platform is safe. We also want to make sure that while we do this, we're also providing like a great user experience. So making sure that they're not spending too much time in the funnel, in the sign up process, making sure that it's easy for them to understand like what they need to provide, and making sure that we are able to like automate a lot of these processes. So that's the platform that we are building. In terms of what I do specifically on these products is mostly around like what a regular product manager would do at any company, I'm guessing, which is making sure that you are setting the vision for the team, making sure that you understand like, okay, what metrics are you going to drive? Based on that, which projects are you going to prioritize? What your roadmap looks like, making sure you're working with cross-functional teams to ensure that for the projects that you want to work on, like you have the right support from all the teams involved, aligning on like, okay, what are the launch timelines going to be like? When are we going to launch this and all of that? And obviously working with engineering to see like how you can actually solve this. Obviously there's like DS, like at least in Uber, like we work a lot with our DS counterparts to make sure that, we are able to like run XPs, we are able to like monitor them, we're able to like report on the right kind of metrics. So it's just a lot of cross-functional work, and it's also a lot of just choosing the right kind of projects to work on.
Got it. Hey, so you've been working as a product manager for a while, coming into Uber as a product manager as well. Did you have any learning curves?
A lot, actually. Like I felt like my product experience before was completely different from what product at Uber was. So there's a huge learning curve for me. At least in my previous companies, the way we looked at product management is like, hey, there are these set of products, like we'll launch them and then we are done and then we are moving to the next one, right? But here it was more around like, okay, these are the metrics that we have to move. So what projects are we going to prioritize for those things? And then it's a very data heavy kind of a workplace. Even engineers like ask for data. So it was so different in that way. And then I think that's one where I had to like put in a lot more effort to kind of understand like how to even, change my mindset to think through that way.
Yeah.
The other one, I feel like a lot of people like, were just super detail oriented, and I was like more at the high level kind of a person, like thinking more about like broader vision rather than going deep into something. So that's another thing that I had to like be more focused on certain kinds of things. So that was definitely another one. I think the way I basically learned it, I think it just comes with experience. Like initially I felt like for the first 2-3 months, I felt like I have no idea what I'm doing here. But then I think I just relied upon like my managers, my people in my team to kind of guide me through like, hey, how does this process work? How does that work? And then Uber is also super complicated in the sense that it's a very ops driven company, I would say, because each city that we operate in, there's just a lot of operational work that goes on, and that each region has their own ops leader. So we had to I had to basically just understand how all of these things work.
Got it. Okay. That makes total sense. What do you like the most, and what do you like the least about your role?
What I like the most, I think, is that it's a super high, just fast-paced work culture. Things move so quickly here. You have to catch up with stuff. So I think for me, like the kind of person that I am, I love that things move so fast and quickly. Most people that you work with are like problem solvers. If there's like a roadblock, people always look at, okay, how am I going to remove that roadblock and how am I going to go forward with it, instead of being like, yeah, that's not my problem, right? They're always looking for problems. So I think that culture is something that I really like a lot and appreciate a lot. The other thing that in general I also like is that it's, again, as I was talking about, like it's just very high impactful projects that I at least get to work on. So like all the projects that I work on, I know that there's a clear value defined for all of them. Like, for example, I know that the projects that we're working on helps increase supply. We know that it's helping earners, like our users, have a better user experience. We know that they're going to spend less time in the sign-up process and move quickly towards actually earning on the platform. So these are just like very good motivators, I guess. So that's something that I like, that it's very high impactful project. Yeah, I think also just like working with all the smart people that I work with. People, like, it's just it's a pretty collaborative environment. And I feel like most of the time I'm probably the dumbest person in the room because everybody's just super smart. And I feel like they just have solutions like this for a lot of problems. So it's just amazing to work with people like that. To answer your other question, what I don't like is that just because we are such a high, fast-paced work company, I just feel at times you don't have enough time to dig deep into certain things. You're just moving from one thing to an other thing very, very quickly. And you're just juggling multiple projects at the same time. So at times it feels like I'm probably not giving full justice to all my projects.
Got it. No, I think those two are pretty much similar with like, some of those big tech companies. So
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
Yeah.
You kind of touched it a little bit, but like tell me about Uber's like culture. Like how is it? I don't really know much about it. So
Yeah, I touched upon a lot of points around like Uber's work culture in terms of like how fast paced it is, and the fact that you get to work on like a lot of high impact projects. Maybe the other point that I'll add is that you get recognized very well if you are working, you just have high visibility into a lot of projects. That's probably like something that I think in general product managers care a lot about, right? Like how your career can grow. So I think that ways people are very appreciative of the work that you do.
okay.
So that's definitely really good. Yeah, I think I touched upon a lot of other things,
Yeah.
like the data stuff. They're very analytical. And then in general, people care a lot about like how the user experience is. So that's another thing. And then there's this big initiative in Uber, like, hey guys, like all employees, like we'll appreciate if you can like drive or deliver with Uber and like see how things are working so that you can come fix it. So there's that go get it done kind of an attitude, which is just amazing.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, like I guess that was one of the questions too. But yeah, you kind of touched upon it. So,
Yeah.
my last question is advice for those who want to join Uber as product manager.
Most important thing, as I was touching upon before as well, right? Like your jam interviews is probably where you would actually know like if you're a good fit for that team or not. So make sure you prepare really well for your jam interviews. Also, like just go, like I mean, for jam interviews, use your HR as much as possible. Like when you get the case, like go through it, ask your HR any questions that you have, and then as you go through the process, like as you prepare for it, cross question yourself at every decision that you're making. Like you get to make a lot of assumptions because it is super vague, but be ready for the interviews to ask you like, okay, why did you choose this? Why not another option? What other options did you choose? Why are you not considering them? Make sure you're stating your assumptions and make sure your assumptions are reasonable, I guess. So that's like the big thing I would say. And then in general, I think just have like a good product sense, know about the product, know about like shortcomings of Uber, know about like where you think like Uber can be, or where the product should be improved and things like that. Just learn about like how Uber works in general, and make sure like your past experience of product, like how it can be applied in this company. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. Hey, Sakita, those are all the questions I had. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate
No,
it.
of course. Yeah. No, this was fun. This was like
Yeah.
I was just going through these questions and I was like, oh wow, like it's been quite some time since I joined, right? So I was like looking through like, okay, what did I learn? It's been quite some time around, but yeah, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, glad you liked it. Yeah, thank you so much.